Hello and welcome. On the bench today I have a vintage sound card. This is an Aztech Sound Galaxy Pro 16.2. This is faulty, so today we're gonna try and see if we can fix it. This card comes from the mid-90s, where everybody was trying to set up their own standards. The gold standard was from Sound Blaster, of course, but those were expensive, so other cards were trying to get to the market with slightly different standards and different products. I was a kid and a proper Sound Blaster was way too expensive for my budget, so I remember getting a Sound Blaster compatible, which was very much hit and miss. But compatibility-wise, this Aztech card covers quite a lot of bases. A Sound Blaster Pro 2 compatible, ADLI compatible, and it also supports the Windows sound system standards. So it's supposed to be a very flexible option either for DOS gaming or for the first Windows multimedia applications. Under the hood we have quite a lot of chips doing the job. Synthesized audio comes directly from a genuine Yamaha OPL3 chip. It's this one, the YMF262, so there's no emulation here. Digital audio runs through an analog device AD1848 codec, the chip responsible for Windows sound system compatibility, paired with the Yamaha YAC512 2-channel DAC for the outputs. The Aztech 1605 is the main controller, tying all the chips together. And finally a Philips TDA1517, an actual sound amplifier. This card has a line output, but also a speaker output. You can plug small speakers directly to the card. And this card has an interesting complement of CD-ROM connectors here. There's one for Panasonic, one for Mitsumi, and one for Sony. And last but not least, a Wave Blaster compatible header, which could be used with Bits and Bolts MIDI Ford, for example. Now, let's get to the point of this video. This card doesn't work. This card is a donation from a friend of the channel, so thank you very much for sending it. And I've shown this card on a video which I'm still putting together. So if the video is already out, you'll find the link somewhere. If not, it will come soon. So let me thank today's sponsor, PCBWay, and now let me show you what this card does, and for that I will need a motherboard. To test this card I'm gonna use my new test bench motherboard. This is an Intel Seattle 2. It features an Intel 440BX chipset, which I understand is one of the most regarded within the retro community. But mostly because this card has ISA, PCI and AGP on a single board, so hopefully I can use this board for a variety of cards. Now, before I plug the Aztec in, I'd like to show you what this card does normally when it's being powered up. I got my postcard here so you can see what happens. Now, the moment I power up the board, 3, 2, 1, go. The board will run some code and then will stop. This is normal for this board when it's set to power off when power is applied. The board will turn on briefly, wake up the processor, realize, oh, the BIOS says turn off, and it will turn off until I actually power it on. And at that point it will power up, and I'd imagine it might complain that there is no video card. There it is. So that's how it normally works. Now, however, the moment I plug in the Aztec card and I turn on the power supply, 3, 2, 1, go, this happens. Nothing happens. Now, I confirmed the exact same problem on a different board, so there's nothing wrong with the Intel board, there's something wrong with the card. And in the video I mentioned, we actually found what the problem was, well, at least I think so. While I was inspecting the card on camera, I noticed a chip with some damage on it. It's this one. Now, this should be an LS245. The 245 is a bus transceiver. It's in between the ISA bus and the card itself, so if that is shorted, for example, and it's pulling down or high some of the ISA bus all the time, well, the motherboard is not gonna start, it's not gonna work at all, because the bus is completely thrashed. Now, you might think that that is a little bit of dirt, but if I change the angle of the card, well, you can clearly see that basically there's a hole on that card, something exploded inside. Now, I don't see any other damage around the card, so my hope is that whatever happened to this card or the system where the card was installed, well, the chip hopefully got damaged and nothing else was damaged. Because I don't see anything else damaged on this card, but I do notice that the Aztec chip is actually directly connected to the ISA bus, so if something catastrophic happened on the system where this card was plugged in, well, chances are that the 245 is not the only dead chip on this board, but we will find out in a minute. So the immediate plan is to replace that chip, and I thought I had a replacement. I don't, so rather than wait for a replacement, I found this in a pile of broken cards. This is a Sound Blaster card, 064, which I attempted to repair some years ago. I can't remember if I made a video about this, probably not. I think the RAM was shorted, and you can probably see here from the back. I replaced the RAM and it was kind of working even on the Windows, but the RAM was not being recognized and you couldn't load anything on the RAM. And eventually I think I realized the EMU chip here is always scorching hot. I believe at some point the card stopped working altogether and I kind of abandoned the project. It happens sometimes. And at some point, I believe there's a video somewhere, if I can find it, I'll link it somewhere, when I went ahead and repaired this 064, which is identical to this one. And I think I used this card here to cannibalize some components. There is maybe a capacitor or a resistor here, which went here. You might be able to see it. And I think this chip here was cracked, like split in the middle, and I replaced it and the card started working, and I could confirm that the EMU 8000 on this card is lukewarm when the card is working. This one is scorching hot, so this is for parts, unfortunately. Now the reason I got this card out is that this card has an LS245 on the ISA bus. And again, I'm assuming it's working, and I'm gonna use this chip on this card to try and fix the broken one on the Aztech. Now, first thing first, how do I know that that is an LS245? It says something like S245. Well, there is a very nice picture on the retro web, and you can clearly see that that is an LS245, so there are no doubts. Now, 245 is getting supply VCC on pin 20, ground on pin 10, and then you have 8 lines from 1 to 8. Those are the bus lines, and the 245 is basically a gate, and depending on the direction pin, the lines are allowed to go in one direction or in the other direction. That allows to either the bus to talk to the card or the card to talk to the bus, but not both at the same time. That would cause a conflict, and that's probably what happens now. Now I'm connected to ground, and if I'm checking the resistance between ground and the A lines, which are connected on the ISA bus, I'm always reading something like 2.6 mega ohms. The next one is 2.6 mega ohm, the next one is 2.6 mega ohms, next one is 2.6 mega ohms, then I have 2.4 mega ohms, then I have 2.6 mega ohms, 2.6 mega ohms, and finally another 2.6 mega ohms. Now let's do the same test on the Aztech card. This is the same chip, same polarity. Now on the first line, A8, I have 2.2 mega ohms, which is totally fine. Next one I have the same value. Then I have another 2.2 mega ohms, then I have another 2 mega ohms, that's totally fine. And look at this, I have 46 ohms. Well, this can't be right. This is A4, and chances are A4 was the one which was destroying the bus, and that's the reason why the CPU was not starting. A3 is also reading something completely wrong, 100 and, well, yeah, no, it's actually 34 ohms, has a little bit of corrosion probably. 35 ohms, that's way too low. And A2 is reading 170, so that's also not great. Also A1 is not great. So that was just a quick test just to show that, yeah, there is something wrong with the chip, obviously. There's a hole on top, I know about that, but you know I like to experiment and tinker with things. So next step is remove this chip, remove the other one, swap them around, and we'll test the card and see if it works. Now, on the Sound Blaster card, the LS245 is not surrounded by anything, so I could use hot air, but on the Aztech, I've got capacitors around, and I also have a plastic connector here. It says expansion connector. I don't know what that's for, but that's going to be difficult with the hot air. Whenever I can, I tend to avoid using the hot air, so I'm going to use my soldering iron and some low melt solder. And I've designed the 90 degrees ISA adapters I've been using throughout the video and then PCBWay manufactured them for me. I've designed those for two purposes. Number one, to show the postcard analyzer on camera. Number two, to help with diagnostics, to be able to reach the card more easily. These projects are available for free on PCBWay store. If you want to place an order for just the PCBs, well, it's just a couple of clicks. But the projects are free, you can download the Gerber files from PCBWay store and then you can do whatever you want with them. If you have your own project or you found a project online which requires PCBs, well, the process is extremely simple. Just download the Gerber file, upload it on PCBWay.com. You might want to change the color of the PCB, for example, select a postal service, and the PCBs will be delivered at your place. And it's PCBWay's 12th anniversary. Have a look at PCBWay.com for fun games, direct discount, and also the opportunity to showcase your own projects. And if you place an order during the event for a PCB with one of the special colors, matte black, purple or pink, well, the color fee is gonna be completely on PCBWay, so you don't pay anything for the extra color. Take a look at PCBWay.com, the link is also down below in the description, and let me thank PCBWay for sponsoring my videos on my channels, because their help makes these videos possible. Now, we are having a heat wave in the UK at the moment, so I need to find a way to cool down. But meanwhile, let's continue with this Aztech car. Now, because I found a chip with a hole in it, I think it only makes sense to make sure there are no shorts on any of those pads. So let me double check that. I'm gonna check for shorts in between ground and all the pads and VCC and all the pads. And I don't see anything wrong, and it's interesting to notice that now the pads connected to the ISA bus, they don't read anything. Obviously, I'd imagine it's gonna be one of these pads. There it is, so as I said, the 245 is directly connected to the bus, while all the legs connected to the other side, they all read 6 point some mega ohms, so this seems to be very, very healthy. And also between VCC and all the pads, there's nothing wrong. Now I can see VCC is coming directly from this chip, it's 7805, it's a linear regulator that generates 5 volts, probably from 12 volts I guess. I'm touching B10, that's the 10th finger on the other side of the connector. That's the one connected to 12 volts, and yes, the regulator is obviously connected to 12 volts. This is our ground, and the third pin is our output. I'm reading 2.7 kilo ohms between ground and the output, and I'm reading 3.4 mega ohms between ground and the input. So I don't see an issue here. What about the input and the output? Mega ohms. So the regulator seems to be fine. I don't see a short, because one concern of mine is, did that chip got 12 volts? For whatever reason, it doesn't look so. Maybe it's something that we can check actually, you know, before fitting my only 245, we can plug this in and make sure that the regulator is actually outputting 5 volts. I think it's a good idea. I've got the card on my 90 degrees ISA 90 degrees adapter. I designed it exactly for this purpose, for diagnostics. Now, I believe the motherboard will now start totally fine, it's just the card is not going to be recognized at all. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a 90 degrees adapter for PCI, even though I think it wouldn't fit in here, so you'll have to trust me here. Let's give power to the motherboard. 3, 2, 1, go. Yes, the motherboard powered on, and then it went into this standby feature. So now I'll have to turn on the motherboard fully, and then we can take a measurement at the regulator. There we go. The board is starting. It will complain now that there is no video card. Okay, it doesn't beep all the time, which is great. This is my 12 volts input on the regulator. How much have we got at the output? And we have 5 volts, so the regulator is working totally fine. There is another one there. It doesn't say, oh, it's 7809. So that's going to be minus 5 volts. When it comes to sound, you often need plus and minus something to generate the output waveform. So this is also getting 12 volts input. Oh no, det tar den här så. Now, of course, 7809, that's the 9 volts, it's not 7909, it's 7809. So that's positive 9 volts, and we do have positive 9 volts. Perfect. So the regulation is working totally fine. I see no reason for not reinstalling the 245. Let's go ahead. The card is in, is it gonna work, or is the 245 going up in smoke? Let's try. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, well, if I plug the motherboard, that might help. Wireless power on motherboards, not a thing yet. The motherboard has done its thing. At this point, I would say let's plug a video card and see if we have an output. And then we'll check with the utility of this card and see if we have any sound out of it. That would be cool. The computer is running and I found the drivers on the RetroWeb, but I believe the driver with the installer is actually not working. And there was a package that said drivers ready to use. Now the thing is, I don't know which one of those 3 drivers I have to put into configsys. And I found the README, and no, those are for the CD-ROMs, which I don't care about. So what about installing the actual sound device? All right, under utility, I found a config X, so let's try that. Now, this is just to change the plug-and-play configuration of the card. This is not one of those cards that you have to put jumpers on. So I can only assume that once I quit the program, it will write the relevant environmental variable in the AutoExec file. No. Maybe. I don't know, let's try this diagnose file. It's working! It is working, fantastic. And FM music. Help. Right, so something is wrong with the synthesized music, and I think I've read somewhere that this card is notorious for conflicting the address, so let's try and change the address with the other configuration file. Did it save it? Yes. So by exiting the software, we are actually updating the AutoExec top path. That makes sense. Well, I'm listening from my laptop and it does sound okay, it's just it doesn't stop. So I'm not sure whether that's supposed to be like that or not. Let's try a game and see what happens, though. I don't know, I think it will keep playing until I restart the computer. All right, well, I got the sound effects running, but not the background music. Right, I think this is working. I think it's just, I'm listening from my laptop. The sound coming from the sound card, for whatever reason, is pretty low. And probably I was overwhelmed by the sound effects, which were covering the music, which at the beginning, when you start Doom, it's actually pretty low in volume. Now, I did find an utility to change the levels, the output levels. It's this file mixtsr. This is a terminate and stay resident, and it says that with Alt and / it recalls a mixer. Oh, that's quite interesting. So I got the digitized sound set to 5 and the FM actually set to 8. I don't know, usually there is a sweet point not to have too much noise coming out of the outputs, but just out of curiosity, let me try and set something higher. The maximum is 16. I don't know, let's do 12, both, and then I can balance into the game. I'd imagine this is saving the values into the card, so you don't have to run this all the time. Let's go back to Doom and see what happened. Well, it's still kind of soft, but that's really not the point. I'm listening through the laptop, so I do see the levels are quite low. It could be my capture device, it could be anything. The bottom line is, it's working. And my understanding is that the hanging note that we were experiencing with the diagnose test, well, that's an issue with the diagnose file. Because obviously it's working totally fine into Doom. To be fair, I did change the address to 300 from 350, and I did change the IRQ from, I think the default was 5 and I moved it to 2 or something like that. I changed the IRQ to another one, so maybe that also helped. But if I'm going back to the diagnose right now, I still have the hanging note. Well, clearly this doesn't work, but clearly it works in a game, so it's an issue with the diagnostic here. And by looking online, I've learned an interesting trick. You can actually send debug commands to the OPL3 here directly on the board to stop each single channel. The idea is to select each one of the channels and then send a stop command. I'm not an expert with debug, but I understand that I can select the channels with 388, so I'll have to send, O stands for output, I think. 388 is the port, the memory part where I'm sending the command, and then I have B0. And then I can turn off this channel by sending 0 to 389. And you can clearly hear that something has disappeared. So I'll speed up the next section so you can hear all the channels being disabled one by one. Well, that worked up to some point, and then to clear everything else, I had to issue the last two commands, which apparently are the waveform select enabled, all test bits cleared. So that works, and that's definitely 100% a configuration utility problem. Nothing wrong with the card, which is working totally fine. I think I'd love to test this sound card with some proper sound equipment. My headphones, a proper amplifier, proper speakers, through my capture device, through my laptop obviously, I can't really hear too much. But I think this card is completely working. It was just a small bus transceiver, as often happens, I understand, from watching videos of repairs online. And I think this is it for today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, as usual, I'd appreciate a thumb up down below, and also consider subscribing to this channel and my second channel if you like these kind of things. Don't forget I'm on Facebook and on Patreon. The links are down below in the description. There is a free tier on Patreon, so no excuses. But if you don't want to support me on Patreon, well, maybe you can buy me a coffee. And the link is also down below in the description. If you don't want to buy me a coffee, well, that's totally fine. And I hope you enjoyed the video. That's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. I wish you a great day and hope to see you again soon here on my channels for my next videos. Thank you very much and goodbye. Bye bye.